Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of chapter 9 of our Flutter development course. So in this part we'll focus on creating stateful widgets. We'll transform basically a stateless widget into a stateful one, and we'll ensure that our app can dynamically update based on the internal state changes. So if you have not got a chance to check the previous part of chapter 9, I will highly recommend you to check that first before watching this part. Link in the description will be attached for the previous part, and also you can click the click the card on the top left corner to check the video as well. So let's get started. Let me move on to the project, our demo project, which we have been working on till now. So what we did in our previous part was we had created a image widget, and we have also created a button, and our main focus was to change this dice image based on the button press. Like whenever we press on this button, we intend to change the image of this dice. So for that we had also created a variable like active dice image, and on pressing of this particular button we were trying to change the value of this variable with a different dice image, so that once we click on this button it changes to the image which has been set here. So in this case it will be 6. So right now you can see that our the function of this button press is working properly, but the image is not working, like image is not getting changed. So there are two problems here. So first of all, like if you have a widget that has some data and that can change internally, and where such data changes should affect the rendered UI. So as in our case, where the image, it's the image where we want to display on the screen, and which depends on this active dice image. So for this, what we had done until now, we had created a stateless widget. So as you can see here, this is basically a stateless widget, and in the stateless widget we are trying to change a value or change the UI based on the value of a variable. So for this case, we should not be using stateless widget. This is very wrong choice. So we should be instead creating a stateful widget. So basically state is simply a data that may change over time and will impact the rendered UI. So if the data change, the UI will also change. So for this case we will be using a stateful widget. Now in programming you have to understand that if you use a variable in your code, the code in which you use it does not magically re-execute just because you have changed the value of the variable somewhere else in the code. So the value stored in the active dice image is only considered if the code where this variable is being used is executed. For example, when the build method executes for the first time, it looks into the Flutter looks into the variable that has been assigned to it, the value, and it considers only this value. So even though we are changing the value of the variable on the press of this button, this widget is not getting rebuilded. So we have to do something so that this widget also gets rebuilded. So let's see how we can do it. So first of all, the fact that we cannot use a stateless widget, so we have to use a stateful widget. So we have to convert this stateless into a stateful widget. So for that, for the sake of understanding, let's create a different stateful widget so that you understand how to create a stateful widget. So instead of converting this particular widget into a stateful one, I will be creating a different widget so that you can understand it more properly. So for that, first of all, we need to create a file here, and let's name it as dice.dat. So first of all, we need to import the Flutter package. So this is very common thing which we do in every widget. Now let's create the widget. So instead of stateless widget, here we will be using a stateful widget. Let me use the constructor function here. Now here, instead of like we cannot use a build method directly within this class, instead we will be using a create state. This is how stateful widget use. So we have to use the create state method. So for that I will be using like this state, and within this I will be using the class name and using the create state method, and we will be returning the state here. So I will tell you what is this. First let me override it, similar to what we do in a build context function. So basically create state is a method that does not take any argument but returns a state object. Now when using a stateful widget, we will always work with two classes. First class is the widget itself, and the second will be a state class, which we will be using with a underscore. So let me create the state class as well. So here's how you define the state class. You have to use underscore for it. I will tell you why we're using underscore. There is a significance for it as well. So let me. So the underscore in this dice roller state means that this particular class is private and it is only usable within this file. So even if you import this into another file, this state class will not be accessible because it's meant to be used by only these class. Okay. Now let's create the state class. So here we will be using, it's similar to the stateless widget. So what we will do is we will override it, and we will be using the widget build context, like as we do in our stateless widget. So this is very similar. Okay, so here we will be returning the widget tree. So let's copy our widget. So let's see, where was our widget? Okay, so we need to copy it from here. So I believe if we copy it from here, it will work, and we will be replacing it with the dice roller class. So let me just paste it here. Okay, so now you can see a few of the variables and function which are not defined here. So let's define these functions. So where we can do this, we have to use this within this class. So let's initialize the active image. Let's say, what was the value of it? So let me just copy it and place it here. So we will be using the initial value as 2, and also we need the function. So let's keep the function, remove the function from here and paste it here. So now we have converted it into a stateful widget, and we have to just use it here. Instead of here, let's import this. Okay, so let's import this dice roller class and use it here instead of. So this should be good. Okay, since we are removing all the variables here, we will be adding the constant here again and save it. So looks like everything is all right. So let's rerun the app and see whether it's working or not. So now you can see that the function is working properly, but the image is not getting changed. So as I said, that we have successfully converted into a stateful widget, but there is still one thing which needs to be done, which is we need to rebuild this widget on the press of this button, or whenever the value of the variable is getting changed, we have to rebuild this widget. So for that, what we need to do is we need to tell the widget to rebuild itself. So for that, we will be using a function called setState. So basically setState, what setState does is it tells your widget that on this change of this variable, you need to rebuild this widget. So we should be using the setState here because we want to rebuild the widget on the press of this button. So let's create the setState method. So this will be again an anonymous function. I have already discussed what an anonymous function looks like. So on this, here we need to change the value of the variable. So let's do this and remove this part and see if our app is working right now. Let's reload the app and see. Okay. So now you can see that on press of this button, we are able to change it to dice 6. So if it is working properly, that means we have successfully converted the stateless widget into stateful widget, and also we were able to rebuild this widget on the change of this variable. So that will be it for today. Like, we will be focusing more on stateful widget in the upcoming chapters. For now, in this chapter, what we have done is we have learned how to create a stateful widget, how to convert a stateless widget into a stateful widget, and also how to rebuild a widget with the change of a variable using setState function. Thank you for watching the video. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also share it with your friends. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel Instantly Academy for great content like this. So see you in the next chapter. Thank you.